Good. Hello, guys. It's us again, One,
I'm AJ.
and we are your hosts for TCC Chat 2020. Where are the jobs? So TCC Chat 2020, Where are the jobs? Is a series of quick conversation with professionals in our community from various fields and industry. And from this conversation, we hope that youth who are watching can gain useful insight and guidance on the career challenges and prospects during or post the COVID-19 outbreak. So with us today, we have our professional, Suryakenchana Omar. Hi, Surya.
Hi. Hi.
Great.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's our pleasure. AJ, perhaps you want to explain a little bit of ground rules before we begin our conversation?
Sure, definitely. Okay, for those who are tuned in right now, okay, if you have any questions, feel free to type at the chat box. However, if you have a really burning question, there's a raise hand option at the bottom, so you can just raise it up, and then I'll be the one helping to facilitate your questions to post it to Surya. So without further ado, let's start our chat session.
Great. And to give a little bit of introduction about Surya, I first knew or heard about Surya when I was volunteering in a community organization, a cultural community organization in Singapore. Now, Surya is the director at By Definition Pte Ltd that specializes in cultural heritage education. He's also the founder of Elefpi Learnscapes, an education institution of SWKD Consulting, specializing in facilitating learning through study skills development. So you can actually look at his background, the company logos, and Google them. So Surya actually involved with TCC since 2018. That was our first inception as a speaker. And now we are glad to have him back to share more about the current landscape and the challenges and prospects that he faced in his particular field and industry. So before that, Surya, culture, education. Tell us more about what you exactly do at this point of time.
I think currently what I'm currently doing that is still running on very strongly is the education aspect, because we are still able to run some classes on a virtual platform like Zoom through video conferencing, but not all. We were affected as well. We had to close our centers. We currently operate from Tampines, Bedok North, Choa Chu Kang, and Woodlands, but we had to cease operations at all the centers when the circuit breaker was on. Even before that, the centers or enrichment centers were asked to close, and as a result, I had to immediately close two classes, 2 sessions, because they were younger students, and the virtual platform may not be suited to carry on with the kind of programs that we do with them. So imagine we had to immediately close 2 sessions, first for a month, and thereafter we have no inkling of how long that suspension would be at that time. So it was very difficult to explain to parents how long, assurance, and so on. For those classes that we are able to move on to the virtual platform, we had to do it very fast, because if you recall, the announcement was made on a Tuesday, put in effect on a Wednesday, and we have classes that following weekends. Fortunately, we had already preempted some things, and had intended to close our centers that weekend to do some disinfection cleaning to assure parents. So we were partly prepared to move to the virtual platform or digitalized platform or e-learning platform. So that's the education part. On the cultural heritage portion or the arts education, catch community arts culture heritage education, under by definition private limited, the biggest impact was the suspension of programs in schools. The school suspended the programs, and we had to. It was difficult because it meant that our freelancers, our part-time staff, are not able to be given jobs, which means their employment and income has also been affected, as well as ours. And the struggle was that uncertainty at the beginning, where it was just mentioned for a month or to a certain date, and now we see that it is a possibility of extending and going further, and there's restrictions and the suspensions are going. So it is a very difficult situation now, especially for those of us who are freelancers, because we don't we rely on the daily rate or the hourly rate, then these jobs come around. And especially for those of us who are involved in the arts as well, and in the cultural heritage portion, a lot of cultural shows are not happening. Even on the volunteer side, where we used to once in a while put up, for example, a Javanese cultural booth at the CC. Now it's not happening. Even by definition, not only in schools, but we have a contract with National Heritage Board to run a few workshops at Wisma Geylang Serai and one Tampines Hub. Even that has been suspended. So a lot of things. In my education side, we service students care centers in which they reduce their operation and then they suspend our services as well. So all in all, on both sides, while we are able to push through quite quite in a very narrow, it's like you are throwing everything from your ship, trying to keep afloat, and then you're left with a few planks just to float on, and that is the struggle. But all is not lost, because there are ways. For example, my partner at By he has begun to develop a lot of videos to teach children about the Malay alphabet and how to pronounce Malay phonetics through some music videos. So these are some of the efforts that we are doing to occupy our time now. Like personally, I've been building up resources, trying to see and preparing for a time that, if there will ever be, hopefully soon enough for us to resume life as, we can't say as it used to be. It has the new way of operating. And I think what is happening, there is a pro and con, especially for the direction that we're moving ahead.
Okay, I've got a question. It's regarding you mentioned about freelancers, whereby you engage them for your projects. I'm guessing you engage them for your projects, and then you had to let them go due to the cancelling or postponing of events. Am I right?
Yeah, we don't let them go. They're still with us. Yeah, but they know things have been suspended. And outside my partner, Abdullah, right there, he has been constantly negotiating with schools to see whether we can move it to a digital platform to conduct our sessions. But in that direction, there are challenges as well. Like, how do you bring the materials to them, and then how do we make sure, even for our work with some of the government bodies, like how do we ensure that, for example, let's say we want to conduct a workshop on traditional games, we can conduct through Zoom, but when we send the material to them, how can we ensure that when they receive it, they will join us in the session and not keep it for themselves, and then don't follow the session, So these are some of the risks that we have to bear, the kind of measured risks that we have to take into account. What other options we have.
Yeah. And Surya, so I think, do you see, looking bigger in the training industry, for example, do you see that the same thing actually is affecting the industry and at the bigger space beyond your companies? Is it similar that they,
No, I think the one impact that I would like to highlight is that given this current situation, more and more people are getting much used to this way of communicating through Zoom, this way of learning, and to some, they get so used to it that they said they may not want to go back to the face-to-face or the physical one. It's so convenient. I don't have to take a bus to attend a course. I just sit down on my computer, just wear my top, and then I can attend a lesson. For some groups, they may find that this is a much convenient way, because previously they were not exposed. They didn't know what it felt like. So one opportunity I see is that more and more people are getting used to, not only getting used to, they are partly or adequately or even partially equipped to embark onto e-learning or digital or virtual learning, because everybody now has to do some form of Zoom or Skype or WebEx or whatever platform. Some form of video conferencing is required by everyone nowadays, right? So minimum people are getting used to that. I think that is good. They're getting used to that. So in the past, when we do e-learning and people say, must video conference, like don't know how, don't have the facilities, but moving ahead, people will have some form of facility to do that.
Yeah. Agree totally. I mean, TCC ourselves this year, we focus on online conferences all the way. And that's why we're having this series. And talking about TCC, of course, we always talk about career. And for youth like us, we always talk about being future ready. But I think no one is ready for this situation. For many millennials, youth like us, this is actually like a tragedy for us. Not that we have experienced war before, even the financial crisis that happened, we were still playing around, we were still young, but now we are working. What do you say to the youth out there? For example, those young professionals who are moving into trying to find a job, or youth who are graduating this year and they are looking for their first job. What would you say to them?
Just get a job. I think that is very important. Just go and get a job, whatever job you can secure. But that's how I started actually. I mean, my first job was with the Singapore Armed Forces, and that was because I found that it was the easiest entry point, signing on as a regular and then getting the scholarship from them. So that was easy. Subsequently, when I left the SAF due to an injury and decided to venture out, I look at what's available. I do a lot of freelance. That's where I started to freelance, do a lot of jobs here and there. So the whole idea is going and get and do something, secure something first. I always believe in putting one foot into the door first. Just like when I started to teach at Republic Poly, I started by applying as a part-timer. And when I was asked, why do you apply as a part-time and why don't you apply as a full-time? I asked them, how long do you need to process me if I were to apply full-time? At least a month. Then I asked them, if I do part-time, when can I start next week? I join next week. I take a part-time and I join next week. Then through that part-time, I work my way in, I prove myself, and then I got my full-time job in less than a semester to work at Republic Poly. So that is the thing. Get your foot into the door first. No? You have one foot into the door so that they can't close it on you. Yeah, do small jobs. Get yourself be known. But I think one thing I learned for myself now as well, diversify your skill sets. Diversify your skill set so that you can be relevant. And that's one thing that I always tell myself, I need to sustain my relevance. How? So recently I've when this thing came about, I know my team needed resources. So I gained by someone donating a few iMacs, but then the iMacs need to be resetted. So I learned on the spot how to reset Macs, MacBooks and iMacs, and I learned how to reset. Then I read up, and now I'm learning how to do computer networking just to support the things in my house and so on. But the thing is, we need to be able to find, and I think when I was thinking through this, I identified a few types of skills. I think by now all of us would know what are the essential skills, what are the essential services, and what are the essential skills that you can still get a job during this period. So I will classify that group as the essential skills that you need in any of these categories, either having a driving license, being able to use the computer or service computer, or in the healthcare. So these are the basic essential skills that you need to have. Second, I think would be that set of communication skills. Communication not only about talking, but probably communication through a digital platform. You know how to use Zoom, you know how to use that. There's a second set of skills that you will need to have. Then the third one would then be your much preferred professional or work skills, or the kind of industry related skills that you want. Because whatever industry you are now, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown that everything is reduced to only a few essential services that can operate, a few essential skills that are in demand. The rest is like, you wait and queue up for your turn to come in later. But other than that, for example, one thing we see very important is the logistics, the supply chain that has become very critical in this period. And I'm glad that last 2 years ago, when a parent asked me to advise a child on what to do, one of the first things I suggested was logistics, because regardless of whether is it in a world where we meet face to face or digital, the logistics supply chain is still very essential and fundamental for us to operate. The basic reason is that there's always a need to move people from one place to another, goods from one place to another. So my advice to them is diversify the skills, get a few sets of skills, something that you can lean back on, and constantly learning. I'm 48 this year, hitting 2 more years to 50, and I'm still starting to learn new things again. So nothing is to stop any younger person to continue learning and improving themselves. And like I said,
Yeah, I think also to just quote you about making the best of each day and work with your limitation. I think that's apt for the youth as well to just see what's available out there. Like you said, maybe this is not the time to be picky when it comes to first jobs.
No, okay, the part about working within my limitations, because I have a physical injury that has effect now that I'm not so mobile. Then I have a disorder that kind of limits. That's the reason why I've been working from home. And this current circuit breaker doesn't really affect me as much as I would have been if I have not been working from home and having to stay at home for a long time for the past few years. So what I do is that there are situations in which I'm bedridden and I can't get out of bed. So there are situations in which I can only sit down, but I cannot stand up. Then there are situations in which I can go up and move. So what I did was that I identify things that I can do when I'm bedridden, identify things that I can do when I can only sit down, and identify things that I can do when I can move around. So with whatever limitations I have, I already know beforehand what are the tasks that I can do. So when I wake up and realize that I can't get out of bed, I can't move out of bed, I know I can still do the thinking stuff. So I just take out my phone and just jot down whatever ideas I have. Then when the next day when I can sit up, then I go into my laptop and start to do all my drafting and so on. And when I move about, then I start to take into place. Or when I can't, because now I have a team, I will just direct them to do the moving around and the walking around. So I guess that is what I meant by working within your limitations. So when you start to identify your limitations, okay, I don't have money. That's one possible limitation that is very real for everybody. So what can you do when you don't have money? Right? So think along that line. So if I have money, if I have this much, then what are the things that I can do at this much? And now since that we can't do a lot of things, it's a good time to sit down, reflect, and work out these plans. And to be frank, there's a lot of people out there who are willing to share. Like me now, you invite me, I talk. Because there's nothing much else to do. Right? So it's easy to gather inputs from people. So but what is important, what's going to be helpful is you list your questions first. So you know what you want to ask. Because there are too many out there. There are too many out there, people giving, and there are many people ready to share. So it's useful to know what are the questions that you have.
Talking about life after this circuit breaker, once everything settled down, what we talk about post COVID-19, how do you see the training industry would be like at that point of time? Do you see it will be back to before, or maybe it's a new normal that trainers, especially young trainers or freelancers, young freelancers, have to take note of?
I think one of the major impact and change that affect the training or education industry, like I mentioned earlier, is that people are now getting used to these e-learning platforms. In the past, people, very few would consider an e-learning platform. People want a physical face-to-face, and they always say the face-to-face is much better than an e-learning platform. Both have its pro and con. But now you can see that it's possible. And the demand on going into the digital platform has actually forced those service providers to expand their scope. For example, how many patches or updates did Zoom do for the past week? Like every week they got a new update, a new patch, and you compare that kind of updates for the previous time, it is not as frequent. I started to use Zoom since last 2 years actually. And the updates are not as frequent as what is it now. So that demand is pushing the industry that support the digitalization further. That means providing much more robust service, much more competition, and it and like I said, coupled with that. So on one side you have the the supply of a lot of very good platforms. On the other side, you have the demand where people are already attuned to learning. I have friends now. For example, when Udemy had that offer of $14.99 for their courses, I signed up for like 10 courses, and I will take my own sweet time to do it. And many people do that.
And what are these courses, Surya? I mean, if our freelancers out there, or our youth trainers out there want to know about what are actually the skills that I need, there are so many courses out there. What are
for me, someone who's from the arts and social science, doing in education and cultural heritage, the courses that I bought from Udemy were in computer networking,
Okay.
because I need to do my own home setup, right? I need to
Yeah.
make my house into a studio to do whatever I need to do. Yeah, so I learned about computer networking. I learned about a bit of coding on game design. So a way to transform whatever I have into a game. So for example, I used to conduct intro and workshops on Jamu, introduction to
Mm,
Jamu,
mm,
as well as. But now, how do I do it?
mm,
So
mm.
one way is to transform it in probably a digital game where people can learn, and then with some video feed showing how it's done. So these are some of the floating ideas. So as someone from the arts, I need to learn a bit of the IT side.
The IT side, yeah.
Yeah, that I don't have to pay somebody to do that.
Exactly.
And to me, because I have time, and now I have a lot of time, a lot of projects that have been suspended,
Mm.
that I started to learn. Even my fellow partners, they are doing that. We are learning about vlogging. We are learning about recording video
Yeah.
editing, packaging. Learn about where to get our resources.
Yeah.
So I think that portion is that's the reason why I gave the advice where you need to identify your essential skills. If
Definitely.
you can drive, you can do things on your own, and yeah, then you need to identify the communication skills, because people will, like now, a lot of people feel it. People have that strong desire to communicate in whatever platform. So when you say communication, it's not just about talking, but how do you link up one person to another? And that is understanding the digital platform communication. And the last one is then your industry leader. So for arts and
Mm.
social science, those freelancing or working in the arts sector or the cultural sector or the humanities sector, the only way is to go digital. And
Yeah.
we are always feel that, I mean, for example, my specialization is in study of rituals, and and you go out there and observe rituals. We like that be in the place, the ambience. I mean, but now digital, we don't feel it. But there's something we just have to let go and understand that this is a situation that we are in, and
Yep.
it's not that possible. So I
So
think,
go digital, yeah.
yeah, go ahead. I think it will be what some quite a number of training academies have already
Mm.
been pushing. They call it the blended learning. So you have face to face. So when we can do face to face again, we still have to face, and still supplemented by some form of e-learning or digital platform.
Yeah, yeah. Because AJ is the founder of this the Freelance Academy for youth, and so many freelancers are asking about upskilling, but there are so many things out there. What would be useful skills that I can learn as a freelancer, as a trainer? So I think going digital is something that's a priority at this point of time. Yeah.
Yeah, even like me creating my background, I just use PowerPoint.
Great,
PowerPoint.
great. Well, my last question, I would say, Surya. I mean, the glass can be full empty, or half full or half empty, right? So, how do you see? I mean, amidst all this, what is the silver lining you think that we youth need to understand? Like I said, it's like the first tragedy for for many of us. What is the I would say the hope or the silver lining that the youth should see amidst this situation?
I think the silver lining is that uh, they will see some changes in the working sector. For example, now no employer can say you can't work from home, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Right? They can't say no. They can't say it's not possible to work from home. We have been working from home for a month, more than a month, and 2 months. What do you mean you can't work from home and business still functioning, right? Yeah.
Agree, agree.
So that means it will be changes in the marketplace. There will be, of course, more demand, because I think as employer myself, uh, if we are to take on this kind of flexi arrangement where
Mm,
people work from home, then there need to be built up on trust. So your own character, your own how your future employer sees you. Is it someone? Are you someone that you can be trusted to work for your home and be your deliverable? So I think the post COVID-19 will be a very different place. So whatever impression you have of the workplace before COVID-19, you need to throw that out,
yeah.
and then you need to bring in a new, because you also need to know what do you want to ask for when you apply for a job. right? Rather than also thinking what you need to do, you need to negotiate. What do you want? And then now there are many possibilities. People working from home, the kind of possible people working remotely, right? Where something was not possible. Now a lot of things become possible, and because a lot of things now become possible, that means the opportunities are abound. A lot of the boundaries are being erased. So there's no longer a boundary where, oh, you are in this sector, you cannot move to another. Now we see a lot of people are moving.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, and in today's world, like I shared with my friend, today's world is very simply divided into essential services and non-essential, and that's it, full stop. Right? Yeah. In the past, there are all kinds of, but that is the reality that we a lot of things are about to change, and this is this is what VUCA really is, the volatile, uncertain, this is what it really is, because we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know if the government going to extend the circuit breaker or cut it short or whatever. We don't know. Even now when we want to plan training or education, so we don't know how to plan. Right? We have to take things month by month, week by week, announcement by announcement. Right? And I think youth who have not been used to things that are stable, like some of us are, it's better for them. They get used to these kind of things. Like for some of us who are much more used to stability, and suddenly this thing shakes us up. Because it becomes very difficult. That's why I guess for the youth, all learn, observe, learn, and see where the direction. Learn how to read the direction in the market, in the industry, in the economy. Learn how to look at trends, and that becomes very important.
Lifelong learning. So I think that's what Surya is all about as well, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Surya. It has been a great conversation. And for those of you, please join us for our future session stay tuned at our Instagram, tertiary.cc. And thank you so much, Surya, again. See you guys next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.